Hey, good morning, everybody. Captain Scott Owens, Southeastern Angling. I want to talk today a little bit about fly fishing. Modern day stuff is obviously drags are getting better, tackle's getting stronger, we're pulling harder on fish. I'm fishing, as everybody knows, the Siegler fly reels. They're the only lever drag fly reel that really is out there on the market. This particular reel will pull over 30 pounds of drag, which sounds excessive, but we need it sometimes. Not necessarily the 30 pounds, but we need a smooth, strong drag. And what we're doing now is we're fishing with braid for backing instead of the old gel spun or even Dacron. And the difference is you get 65-pound braid, and it's, of course, very, very thin. And a problem we've been having that I was talking to the folks over at Orbis a couple years ago, I guess it's been a year ago now, at the fly fishing event up in Atlanta, fly fishing show, is the connection. So when we're hooking, and I've doubled, this has got a bimini and then into a big loop for our fly line. And one of the things I was having problems with is the braid is so thin and so strong, and all these new fly lines come with welded loops. And to avoid cutting this fly line, getting into the core of the fly line, which can get saturated, your fly line can become waterlogged. We try to use these welded loops. Problem is, and I'm going to start pulling this one off, is if you're pulling any kind of pressure, what happens is, let's see if this one's even got it, but yeah, it looks like it. Hadn't even used this much, but what happens is, and I don't know if you guys can see this, but it really starts to eat into the fly line, and it will actually cut the welded loop end. It'll cut the coating clear off the fly line. Now this is there you go. This is the Amplitude, the Scientific Angler's Amplitude Smooth. I think it's one of the best fly lines on the market now. The coating is extremely durable on it. I've had them get hung up in the trolling motor. I've had stuff rake up against the boat. I mean, all kinds of different stuff. But 65-pound braid on this fly line is definitely going to do some damage to it over time. So what Josh over at Orbis has come up with so far, these are testers or prototypes, is this little loop. And what this loop is going to do is it's going to attach to the braid with a loop on this thin end, and then to the fly line on this fat end. And you can see the difference, in the diameter of this stuff. This will eliminate the cutting of the coating on the fly line and possibly a welded loop failure if you're pulling excessive drag. So real quick, I'm gonna pull this fly line. I've got it strung all the way out into the yard. I know a lot of people ask me what kind of rods I use and everything else. I'm using G Loomis rods. I've got the older Pro 1s for all my intermediate stuff and my sinking lines. It's just a little bit stiffer rod, in my opinion, than the NRX, and gives us a little bit more lifting power. I find clients can actually cast the intermediates, the heavy intermediates, and the sinking lines. And I told you guys wrong. I think this is actually the Amplitude textured. It's got the smooth on the other rod. Excellent. Either or is excellent. But what I've done here is I've pulled this all the way back. I'm going to look and see which line this is here. SA Amplitude. Yep. So this is the textured. This is an 11 weight. But I've pulled this all the way back. Pulling the leader through now. Got to get this over all the leaders. And we're going to talk about fly leaders down the road. I've had a lot of people ask me how I like to rig my fly leaders for the coast here. So I'm going to take the welded loop, okay? And we're going to attach it directly to the fly line to start. Oh yeah, this is going to be nice. Now, one of the things we want to really make sure of, okay, is that when we do this, when we loop this over, okay? We want to make sure that we don't bring this across and it comes off the fly line and cinches on itself. I was told specifically to make sure that didn't happen. Now that's proper way to actually, put a line on a fly line, but they wanted me to really make sure of that. This is going to be a 50-pound connection is what he's tested these at. And what this will do is still go through the guides really well. I'm going to cinch this down just using a big hook and a popper, or just a big hook. We're going to cinch that down, and that's going to make a really good connection. Now there is a little bit of a lump there or not, but that's going to go through the guides. I'll test that to make sure, but that should go through the guides no problem. Now we're going to go back and we're going to use our bimini with our braid, and we're actually going to go back through, okay, the loop, and then we're going to pull our fly line back through, which will take me a second. Probably should have stretched this out in the yard, would have made it a little easier. But we're going to pull that back through. And this is the first rod I've put this on. Josh sent me 3 of these to use, and I haven't been out doing a whole lot. We've caught some big bull reds recently on fly out offshore and stuff, but I just didn't have these switched out yet, and they were on intermediates. But we're going to do the same thing here. What we don't want to happen, and it's tough for everybody to see this, I know, but we don't want the braid to come over and we get a connection like that. We want to make sure that the braid connects, and it almost makes a figure 8. If everybody can see that, we want that to be a figure 8. We don't want it to loop over like it's doing right there. We want it to come across and do a figure 8 on there, and then when we pull that down, we want it to cinch down like that. And that's going to be our connection now. So now we're not going to have any issues with that cutting into the core of that fly line. So just a little tip, these aren't available yet, but we'll see how they work. I'm going to let you guys know. That should help us save these fly lines. But stay tuned. Don't forget to like the post down below. If you got any comments or questions, please ask. And follow us on Instagram at Southeastern Angling, and our website, www.southeasternangling.com. All right, guys, tight lines.